introduction.
Mm-hmm.
This one is recording, that is recording, that is recording. Okay. Take 2. Oh,
All right.
I found something incredible last night.
Yeah.
I found beekeeper TikTok, and there's this
Wow.
woman who's a like ethical beekeeper in Texas, and she picks up bees with her hands, like whole fistfuls of bees,
Uh-huh.
because she knows when they're docile or not.
I mean,
If you know, you know, I guess.
bees are like pretty, I don't know. I always feel like bees are pretty benevolent. I don't get stung by bees a lot.
I've only been stung once. So, what's on the agenda?
I honestly don't know. But could we go back to bees for a minute?
Yeah.
As long as we're on bees. Well, okay. I don't know how much of this I want to disclose on television.
All right, maybe.
But everyone's like, wow, where could this be going? No, so I don't really watch TV that much, but what I do watch is a TV show called Midsummer Murders. That's like a British detective show. It's very long running. You can find every single episode on full in YouTube.
Interesting.
And yeah, the ease of access there is really what's kept me coming back. And I don't really watch it, but anyway, I recently coerced one of my roommates into watching it, and they reminded me in the first episode, they like start with the telling of the bees. Do you know about that?
The telling of the bees?
Yeah, apparently if you keep bees, one thing you're supposed to do is tell them. Like, go to your hive and tell your bees every time someone dies. Otherwise, bad things will happen.
Tell your bee, like anyone at all, or anyone they know?
I think like anyone you know, although I don't know. Like, I wonder if like English beekeepers for like, you know, Prince is dead. Like, I have to go tell the bees.
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like it would be a lot if it was just anybody.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that you don't know every single time someone dies, but yeah, I guess I didn't research this tradition at all. We can cut this part.
No, I'm keeping it. I like
Fix it in post. Make it so I say something smart and interesting.
I think you did say something smart and interesting.
Man.
So the first episode, they talk about it?
Yeah, they do. Which, like, really, I think of the strengths of that TV show, it's really that, like, it leans so heavily into being English. Like, there's this one episode where, like, all the, like, members of a church bell ringing competitive team, like, are getting picked off. And, like, every episode is like that, where you're like, only in England.
It's all on YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
I'll check it out. I watched this Japanese show recently that was like, it was called Midnight Diner.
Oh, interesting.
And it's kind of unclear really what the premise is, besides the fact that it just takes place entirely in like a diner that's open only at night and it's just the owner running it, and he'll make you whatever you want. And it's like very cheap, and there's like all this stuff where there's like a Yakuza boss comes in and there's drama with him, and then there's like drama with other people who come in, like drag queen comes in, and like there's all, it's interesting. It's like a drama, but there's one location. So it's like a drama sitcom kind of.
That's awesome.
I enjoyed it.
So, like, is there, like, any plot development, or do people just, like, drop by and, like, talk about their woes?
The characters have stuff happen to them, for sure. And the characters have, like, drama within them, within, like, the community of people who go to the diner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little violence. There's a little bit of fighting. But yeah, it just kind of seems like the guy who runs the diner is like wiser than all of them, and he's the narrator. He talks about, you know, the different things about each of them and his thoughts on their their dramas and lifestyles and things.
Is it a new show or is it from like a?
I don't know. It's just on Netflix.
Oh, okay, cool. It sounds nice.
I'll click on anything on Netflix. The soundtrack is very relaxing.
Really, I won't click on anything on Netflix. I'm like, I don't know about this. That's just across my computer and look at the wall.
What else is going on? What's our local news?
What is our local news? Not to be rhetorical.
The Northampton City Council released their police commission list of who's going to be on the police
Oh, I
commission.
missed that. Who's going to be on the police commission?
I only recognized one name, which is I like her, from what I know about her. I don't know. And then there was a bunch of people who I didn't know. So I was going to actually sit down at some point.
And
Should
do
have
some
done research for the show, yeah. And like find out what everyone was, what everyone's deal was. But
Next episode,
next episode.
we talk about what's available on Google for each member of that
Everyone's
commission.
LinkedIn profile. But also, they're not going to be given any real power.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of like silly that they're like, well, these people will make suggestions, even though it's like, okay, so like
And you won't
thousands
take
of
them.
people made suggestions that you ignored. Why are like these 12 people? Yeah, I have been on the Gazette lately, but cannot say if anything distinctive happened.
how do you feel about the new Northampton downtown?
Oh gosh, well, you know, I already tried to never go there. So, feeling real good about developing that habit. I'm just like, whatever. I don't know.
People are pissed.
I can't explain why it's supposed to be weird. I understand. I feel like if I thought about it, I would be pissed, but it just happened.
Well, it's there was a petition by like local like small business owners being like, all of this is going to fuck over our business, which is interesting because I
Okay.
feel like the coronavirus is what's going to fuck over their business. But yeah, so
Sharp observation.
yes, so there's like no parking. Unclear. They like moved the parking, so it's kind of, I think it lost some parking, but also there was never really any parking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's ugly. And as someone who has hit a pedestrian in Northampton, I think people are going to hit pedestrians in Northampton
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
so than usual. My friend, I have to ask her, I might cut this, but her cousin hit someone in Northampton and it was like a really big news story because he had changed his name legally to Jesus Christ. So there was like a bunch of news stories about like Jesus Christ hit in downtown Northampton. So luckily, when I hit a pedestrian in downtown Northampton, I did not have to live down that kind of thing.
People are like, oh, just a person hitting another person.
Just another person.
Yeah. Man, the like, yeah, people love to pick up silly names and run with them.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone
Like Jesus.
what?
Like Jesus.
Like Jesus. Did I just say Jesus had a silly name? I'm sorry, Jesus.
He's not listening.
Yeah.
Jesus, if you're watching, turn it off now.
But I don't know if I'm doing Chanel justice. Yeah, so I have some friends who, when they got married, they like didn't want to change their last names to be the same, but they wanted to like share a name somehow. And so they decided they were going to legally change their names to have the same middle name.
Huh.
And which is like a solution, you know. And so they decided that they were just gonna be like really silly about it. They like made their middle name like Sea Monster. And then that was kind of that, but like legally when you change your name you have to publish it in like a paper of record. So they like, I don't know, they like put it in like the Holyoke paper and kind of like no one reads this or whatever. They like just didn't want like their families to see it or something. However, someone what did in fact read the Holyoke paper and was like weird, and this was like in the mid 2000s, I think. So when like kind of like Gawker culture was at its height, right? And then it was like all over the internet, and which is like, it's not like that remarkable, but it was like a much simpler time then, so like maybe it was. And then like they said they just got such mean like messages from all these people that were like, wow, I can't believe how like starved for attention these people are, blah blah blah, which is like, oh my god.
Oy.
So
That's
yeah,
so funny.
be careful.
Be careful what decisions you make about your own legal name.
And then like try to quietly check the boxes of yeah. So what was on the agenda?
Oh, I can look. I've spent all day being really pissed off about, you know, everything.
Yeah, that's very fair. I feel pretty burnt out from being angry.
Ugh. I think we all need to get rid of our social media profiles.
All of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Or we need to all just get diaries, and that's where we put the stupid shit we think instead of online.
You know, I've talked about this recently, and you know, I'm not saying The American Office was a good TV show, but I am going to say that in that, which, did you watch it at all?
Some of it, never all of it.
Did you ever see that episode where like that Creed, like the like old guy who's like very intense, like decides he wants a blog?
No.
And like asks someone to set it up for him? And instead, they set up like a Word document and type a URL at the top, and then he just like puts all of his thoughts there. I feel like that is like a very like good solution that like we should continue to like employ in real life. It's just like, you know, you don't have to tell everyone what you're thinking, especially because
I think you shouldn't tell everyone everything. I think you should not tell most people most things.
I agree.
I think something that's interesting to think about is that, I don't know, I had like this weird like daydream last night about like, you know how there's all these like small movements of like romantic, like cottagecore, like things romanticizing like tradition. I imagined
a trad gateway.
Yes, but a version of that that's romanticizing privacy. Where it's like, people I know don't know everything about me, and not all of my thoughts are available on the public internet for anyone to look up, and none of my past is readily available to random strangers on the internet.
Yeah.
To, you know, do weird shit with.
I think it's achievable. I feel like I've done like a pretty okay job at like, you know, like, well,
yeah, you're incredible at that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like, I'm very proud of that. Something I wrote like last year. I don't know. Like at the last minute, the like editor emailed me and was like, "Wait, what do you want like your bio to be or whatever?" And I didn't see it in time, and so they like. I forget. I think based on Googling me, which please don't do if you see this. I don't feel good about that. They decided I lived in New York, and I was like, yes. Like, this is such a good sign.
Wow.
Yeah.
Truly.
Although now I'm like, the shoestring's gonna come up, and now we'll know exactly what county I live in and whatever. But yeah, I think it's very doable, and all you have to do is, I think a big part of it is like, not, like, why does your name have to be on anything? Like, I understand that in some ways this is just like a like recursive like me being privileged to like outlast like or like not really be active during the part of the internet where everyone's like fake names trolling each other, like where like I'm sure it's like very like harmful and like it's in reaction to that, but like from the vantage point of 2020, I'm kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Like why? And something I think about sometimes too, and you can tell me your opinions on this, please, because mine are like probably not right or good, is like I find it interesting when people have like extensive like bios of themselves in like their profiles. Like like when someone's Twitter profile is like this and this and this and this and this about me. And it's like, why are you like establishing yourself in relation to these things? Like who, like, we all just like read Twitter to like see people's dumb thoughts. I don't need to like know all of that.
It's very curious. It's the like self-branding thing.
Yeah, there's.
I've fallen victim to it. Cause I feel like we all, you know how everyone's all like, the idea that like Americans are all temporarily embarrassed billionaires.
I did not know that. Tell me that.
The idea being that like the way that Americans conduct themselves is based on the fact that they think they will eventually be incredibly wealthy.
Okay, I see.
Like, I think everyone is now temporarily canceled influencers.
Wow. Excellent evolution of that theory.
Cut and print.
Yeah. And there's the rush to self-cancel. Although I think most of the time when you see people self-canceling, they're finding like a good trapdoor out of like whatever.
Oh yeah, I think it's all anxiety and paranoia.
Well, I mean, did we talk about this before? Like Jenna Marbles, like didn't she self-cancel out of her YouTube career? She's been doing that forever. She's like the first YouTuber that I was aware of, I think. And like, I think she was just tired and wanted to stop. And so it's so easy to be like, actually, I'm woke is why I'm gonna like step away from this. Yeah. Like,
As someone who watched Jenna Marbles up until she quit, I will admit,
that's a different type of plane.
That's God warning me about how I watched Jenna Marbles up until she quit. Yeah, I think she's just fucking tired. She's like 30. She's only 30? She's 32 maybe?
Wow.
She's in her 30s. So of course she's done. What an exhausting lifestyle.
Totally. Especially when her thing was always kind of like being like very like over the top, like energetic. Like I'm amazed she lasted this long.
Yeah. She's like busy.
Yeah. I mean like Audrey Gelman did that with The Wing, if you followed any of that bullshit. It's like really not worth knowing about. But yeah, basically this like girl boss self-canceled herself out of her failing company and left it for other people to deal with. So like congratulations on that.
What do you think about the Jessica Krug stuff? That's another self-canceling.
Yeah. I was thinking about our last episode in terms of the like catfishing.
We're gonna have one every time.
I know. I feel like the speed of those is increasing. Like I feel like I've seen a couple since then, and I don't know.
Why do you think it is? Do you think identity politics is just like edged, and now the grifters are revealing themselves?
Yeah, I think we're like maybe at a certain point in like the cycle.
That's unfortunately how I felt about Kimberly Crenshaw, the coiner of intersectionality.
Yeah.
When she endorsed Warren. I was like, oh, I don't know. Other people wrote this theory better than you anyway.
Yeah, like,
I'm gonna cut that.
Like the Company River Collective, though, has always been like, wait, but we did that, you know?
And Patricia Hill Collins as well.
It's like interesting to follow Barbara Smith on Twitter and just be like, she just reads all the same dumb like memes as me. And like I'm like, you get this? I'm smart for this.
Oh no, this is not the good place.
can we actually talk about a Facebook group that I think is good?
Yeah.
And because I feel like I've meant to ask you if you know this many times and just have not, is there's a Facebook group, I think it's called like Request PDFs from People with Institutional Access.
Oh, I have heard of that.
And I think it's like a really cool use of Facebook in terms of like people will go on there and be like, hey, I don't have JSTOR or whatever, but I really want to read this article. Can anyone just like get it for me? I shouldn't have done this way.
Oh, no.
The painting section of the show is struggling today.
I'm having a little trouble too. I'm off my game. But I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I find it genuinely helpful. I think it's like also cool because it's like alerted me to a lot of material that I would not know about otherwise. And yeah, it's just like a good way of like leveraging that. And I think the people in it tend to be like pretty smart about just like kind of keeping like a critical perspective of the group. In terms of like, okay, like is it like under what circumstances is it ethical to like upload like a PDF copy of like a young Black scholar's like new book? Like, like there's like conversations about that. But also in terms of like, no, like just knowing who the group is for, in terms of like, it kind of seems like universities have tried to infiltrate it a couple times and things like that. I don't know. I'm just like, this is like a good thing, is what I think about it.
I like that. I'll join that.
Yeah, you should join it.
I would like a Facebook group called Collective Debunking of the New York Times.
Oh my God. Just like going on the New York Times website, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
So
I don't know if I'm supposed to look at the camera or not. So
You
I
can
have
look at the
several
camera.
times
I've been.
extended eye
think it's
contact. Yeah. You know what was funny? Yesterday I was talking to my friend about how like in like 2006 or whatever, like all the Facebook groups were like called something like every time I step on a crunchy leaf, or like every time I see a crunchy leaf I step on it, or something like that. And like sort of like, what was that supposed to do? Like,
no.
well,
It was like the like the first version of like when people tag posts, like when you see a post in like a left book group and then underneath someone has tagged another left book group that applies to it in name alone. I was in so many of those. There was also that one that was
did
like...
you feel like you were finding community?
No. I felt like it just looked funny on my profile.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of it.
Like, you'll get a notification in 10 years and be like, what's this?
Yeah.
For an event. I'm excited for that. I think about that every day.
Just waiting for that life-changing Facebook invite to come through.
Who knew?
No. Oh, I have a question that I would be curious to hear your answer to.
Go for it. Taking some creative liberties over here.
Same. All I've done is paint black. A black background. But when was the first time you were kind of aware that your information, like online, like through products, whatever, was like being kept by companies?
Oh. That's a tough one. Do you know yours?
Maybe. Do you have any, is anything sparked or should I just talk?
I mean, I feel like a big one is when Facebook, like the sidebar ads started, where you would see like the page you were just on Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a big tell.
Okay.
Or, ooh, you know what it was? I started in high school. I started taking Chinese as an online class. So I would email my professor in Chinese. It was like a virtual high school kind of thing for 2 years, or for a year, and then I took it at a college. But that doesn't matter at all. But I would email my professor in Chinese, questions about the syllabus and stuff. And then all of my ads were in Chinese.
Oh.
And I was like, holy shit. Okay. It's reading my email. So that was a big one for me. Tell me.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I was polling my friend Zoe this morning too, and she was talking about targeted ads. Basically, I don't know. I've been thinking about Snapchat a lot recently, which I told myself I was not going to talk about, but I am.
Please.
Just in terms of like, Snapchat is so curious to me, and also, even to this day, Snapchat bills itself as a quote-unquote camera company, which is, it's just clearly not. Like,
Yeah.
It's not.
Weird.
Like, there's absolutely no way in which you can spin it that Snapchat is a camera company. Like, I've thought about this, prodded it from multiple angles. Like, it's just not. But like, the dumbest people make these things, and I'm sure they like think it sounds like provocative and cool. So I'll let them have it. And I've been doing some light research into Snapchat history in terms of like, because I just remember at some point during like Snapchat's heyday, right? Which is probably like 2013, 2014, someone being like, they like keep all of that stuff. And me being like, really?
I feel like I remember that too.
And that kind of being like a big deal because like Snapchat
has everything.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. I'm
including like literally nudes, children.
Literally nudes, yeah. And I don't know. So I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I've been having a hard time like really getting my arms around it. And like, I also feel like I'm overextending, but I feel like Snapchat, in terms of like having stuff that people thought was sensitive and like actually cared about, even if you were like, just like a totally like kind of like average mindless consumer, like some people are like, targeted ads, great. And most people like
my ads being targeted
are like, no, I hate it. But like, I don't know. I just think like in terms of like concretizing the fact that you have like information and people want it for reasons other than like, so you can send it to your friend and like have like a laugh. I don't know. I feel like that's important, but
I agree.
I don't know. And so I'm wondering, so I guess I was trying to see if that had anything to do with your personal journey towards data squeamishness.
I do remember being very squeamish about Snapchat. I remember being like 16, probably 17, and being like a shit kid and being like, Snapchat rules because when you send someone a nude and they screenshot it, it shows you the screenshot. And not thinking like, okay, but then what?
Yeah.
Like, then what do I do?
Yeah.
And having Snapchat streaks with friends. You know what I remember when Snapchat had the launched the like map where you can search for people, and everyone was like, wait, what the fuck? Snapchat is letting everyone I know where I am? Like, I don't know if I want everyone I know to know where I am.
Which is like a built-in feature of Apple phones too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Are people squeamish about that? I don't know. I remember my friend like liking it, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I feel like people are becoming more squeamish about it as like, you know, like as we talk about being anonymous at protests and how
Oh,
much you
yeah.
have to do with your phone to be anonymous at a protest.
Mm-hmm.
All the shit you have to turn off.
Yeah.
What else is on the agenda? Has anyone written a book about Snapchat yet?
I don't think so. Nathan Jurgensen has a book called The Social Photo that's kind of about like a much longer history of photography. I have a copy of it. And I need to go back and see how Snapchat figures in there. I think I've like now invested enough time into thinking about Snapchat that I'm like, it can't be a dead end.
No, I don't think you're wrong. It also like has had a real resurgence in popularity for like Zoomers.
Oh, really?
Hasn't it? I feel like my like little cousins love Snapchat.
Interesting. Yeah, I was curious about that. Because like it really did like kind of die off in like 2016, 17 was sort of how it felt. And what I find interesting too is the way that Snapchat has pivoted towards being a media platform in a way that like, in a way that's like much stricter than like say Facebook. And I didn't realize also that Snapchat was the platform to introduce like a discover page. But
Oh yeah,
apparently that's the facts.
I remember that.
I don't know. It is like also funny just to like watch them be like kind of robbed at every turn because it doesn't matter. But yeah.
You're gonna patent discovery. Good luck. Many have tried.
Yeah. Anyway, but you say that your little cousins like Snapchat?
From what I can tell, I only follow one of them on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
She also has a podcast, so I don't really. It's like she's like, my cousins are evangelical, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly how much they represent.
Yeah.
the
youth
culture.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like leave youth culture alone. I think I've reached the age where I'm like, officially, because I'm 26, this is not my business. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I respect that.
I can think about the aspects of it that involve me because I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
Like, you know, considering the importance and power of Snapchat or YouTube. But like, I'm on TikTok to see people my age taking care of bees.
Should we go back to cottagecore? Do you have thoughts on cottagecore and farmer influencers and things like that? Tell me about your favorite farmer influencer. We never got to that.
Oh
last
yeah,
time.
there's a guy on TikTok. Let me see if I can find him. He's a farmer. He farms potatoes. He made a couple of videos about farming potatoes. He has a bunch of favorite tractors. I think I'm like. So I sat up in bed recently at night and wrote a little notepad in my phone. How much do you know about abjection and abject genres and things like that?
As a genre, nothing.
In like a film theory class, I may completely butcher this, but from
please tell me.
From a film theory class I took at Mount Holyoke College, we read an essay about abjection and melodrama and horror and porn, where the basic theory was that images created in film and presumably other forms of media, like melodrama, horror, and porn, what makes them abject is that it's like specific, they have specific attributes, all of which are sort of working towards the goal of giving the audience a very specific physical reaction, like physical and physiological reaction. So like for horror, it's like Well, it's specifically body horror. So for horror, it would like the ejaculation would be throwing up, and for porn, the ejaculation would be ejaculating, and for melodrama, the ejaculation would be crying.
Okay.
So I sat up in bed recently because I have been trying for so long to think of how the like digital age has sort of invented new forms of media genre that have their own kinds of abjection. One of which I think is ASMR or satisfaction. And in the same way that because it's digital media, it is also not as there's the ejaculation is internal.
Less physical?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So like for ASMR, it's trying to create and satisfaction porn kind of stuff. The aim is to create like satisfaction and calm and comfort, sleepiness, you know, that kind of thing. It's a very specific interaction with internet media. And then there's cringe, which has a very physical reaction. And then the last one was like the existential horror of seeing something so shocking and sudden and graphic on the internet, like completely uncensored. For instance, you know, like a snuff film of a police officer killing a black person, or you know, like it can even be fake. You know, like a fake video, like you know, like the Facebook thing about. This is a million different places. You know how like the report about like the Facebook's content censorers, how they all have PTSD because they see like horrifying stuff and half of it isn't real. Yeah, like that kind of thing. So I've been thinking about that. I have no idea where I was going with this.
Well, I like it. I think you're right.
I think we were talking about.
Oh, well, we were talking about cottagecore.
Oh, cottagecore.
And farmer influencers and the potato man.
Oh yeah. So part of that is I think that for satisfaction, for all of these things, for it to work, it has to include like sort of a new form of
ejaculate.
New form of ejaculate, but a new form of like of invisible production.
Okay.
I wrote at 3 a.m. I wrote, not in the sense that you may not see the production, but there is no added complexity, so it's faceless production. Okay. So in the case of farmer influencers, I think it's the opposite. I think that is giving production a face.
Interesting.
Whereas like a video from like BuzzFeed that's like a compilation of like, you know, street foods in unidentified Asian countries that have a satisfying production. It's both like showing you how something is made while completely divorcing it from the reality of it being made at all. Like you have no idea who the people are, you have no idea where they live, you have no idea about their like, you know, like the realities of that production. And it doesn't really matter because everything you know about, you know, international relations comes from the New York Times. So why would you need, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's that. So I think of farmer influencers as a opposition to that.
I have a question with the farmer influencers. Does it get like nitty gritty? Like, does it seem difficult to be a farmer?
Yes. Okay. It seems very difficult. It seems also like, you know, it's really hard to be a farmer.
It is. But I guess kind of when I've been reading about farmer influencers, I'm like, okay, so it's like maybe like probably someone who has like an acre of land and like, you know, like I feel like there's, I feel like there's probably a like, and like maybe this is more in the cottagecore vein, like a pastoral bent. Yeah. Where it like romanticizes a farming lifestyle while like saying it's the reality while it's not. I don't know.
I worry about the cottagecore stuff because I feel like it feeds into like the anarcho-primitivism stuff and like we can't go back. We have far too much nuclear waste to just go back. Yeah. Someone needs to know about how to work with all this stuff at some point.
Yeah. Did you do you know the AAA Workers Party did an episode about this, but you know that like nuclear waste site in New Mexico?
Yes. Are you talking about the nuclear waste the like messaging for aliens theoretically.
Yeah, yeah. The messaging for the far future and the aliens, and like, how do you even convey how like terrible this like vault of like nuclear waste is? It's like, yeah, good question. Maybe we should stop producing it, IDK. Like,
Did you ever watch Whitest Kids You Know?
I remember like a couple of their sketches.
I've been watching a lot of Whitest Kids You Know. I've been doing a lot of edibles, writing a lot about objection. Oh, the last thing I wanted to say about farmer influencers is that I think that we're reaching a. I watched like a live from like a new influencer, like a guy who's being like sort of forced into being an influencer because he was arrested at a BLM protest.
Oh, okay.
And he's so anti-influencer that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more because being an influencer requires like capitalism narcissism.
Yeah.
You know? And I think we're going to start seeing like actual people being like, no, I hate this. I don't want this many people knowing who I am. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, totally.
Critical mass type of shit. But, oh my God, what was I going to say? Oh, there's a Whitest Kids You Know sketch about anarchy. It's called Anarchy. I do not endorse all of the, this is not an endorsement of Whitest Kids You Know.
Okay.
Although, they are right about 9/11. But it's like a bunch of anarchists post-anarchist revolution, and they're like, okay, what are we gonna do now? And one guy's like, we can do whatever the fuck we want. We don't have to do anything. And then another guy is like, hey, like, I don't want to like, you know, step on anyone's toes here, but I used to work at the nuclear power plant, and if someone doesn't go up there and press buttons twice a day, we're all gonna fucking die. Like, everyone on Earth is gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, so we need to give someone the job of going up there. And then he's like, okay, but if, you know, if I have the job of going up there, then like I don't have time to farm my own food. So like, can you guys give me the food? And they're like, yeah, well, we'll make you a t-shirt that says, I'm the guy who does the nuclear waste stuff, so give me free food. And everyone's like, well, what if someone else makes a t-shirt that says that and then is stealing all our food by making us think that they're the nuclear waste guy? And they're like, well, then we should all make t-shirts that say, we are not the nuclear waste guy, and we distribute them to everybody, and we have to wear them all the time. And they're like, that sounds like authoritarianism. And then they kill the guy who came up with that idea, and then they're like, forget everything that guy said. And the nuclear waste guy is like, everything? And he's like, yeah, forget everything he said. And he's like, okay, hey, I used to work at a nuclear waste plant that's up the road, and we need someone to press the buttons twice a day or we're all gonna die. And that's what I think of with that. A little tongue-in-cheek. I don't agree with it entirely, but it is really funny.
I think I like that as a sketch concept. Man, the amount of like just from being video averse, which I know I shouldn't be, like the amount of video content I've consumed just by people telling me about it or by like reading the Wikipedia page or whatever is like
astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I think everything is like skimmable. Like it's not.
Trying a new technique here. It's maybe
just so you know, Liz.
What?
All I have done this entire time has been to paint black.
Oh my god.
So
maybe a twofer.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I think the like simplicity of it brings me joy.
She is white.
She is white, yeah, no. I mean, the reason I was like, I can just sketch this out is because there's not all that much to do. But I was like, I started trying to outline her body with this kind of floppy, bad, wide brush, and then it was like not going well, and I was like, the only way to fix this is to make everything else black. So here we are, painting secret.
That makes sense. Right,
painting tip.
I'm taking this that looks like a butter knife, and I'm doing this motion.
Oh, I like that. Is it texturizing?
A little bit, yeah.
Nice.
A little bit. I'm not really sure how I feel about this guy. I think I want it to be a little brighter. This
What are
is
you
an
painting
onion.
again? Onion. That's it. From your vegetable series.
The vegetable series.
We can have like a exhibition for you and call it like Liz's Garden or something. Cottage core.
Plants I would kill if they were real. Cottage core. I don't know. I kind of feel like the thing about the cottage core thing is that I feel it. I don't know. I feel like it's a Zoomer thing, and I shan't not comment.
Yeah, it's
but
true.
it is strange, and it is interesting.
I mean, from knowing nothing about it, I'm like, yeah, sure. If you went along for a simpler, romanticized time that you never knew, why not?
Also, from everything I've seen about it, it is very gay. Like, it's people who are
Ah.
like, I want to live with my girlfriend in a cottage. Which, you know, don't we all?
Yeah. Hmm.
It's like an okay onion. Maybe I'll add some green. I don't know where I'm going with this.
You can just paint black over the entire thing and
Yeah.
call it a day.
Well, you can do that. You're good at that.
Yeah. My skill set.
I'm just gonna add some green, I think. I like the messy background I did. I'm an impressionist painter.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this to my roommate, the one who brought Chanel to us. And I need to make sure to do it in a way where I don't feel pressured at all to do anything with this.
Bring it to their room with it in one hand and a trash can in the other. Just be like,
A trash can in one hand and like a golden frame in the other.
like, there is no judgment which route you pick.
This is the blue pill, red pill, of whatever. I saw The Matrix for the first time a few weeks ago.
What'd you think of it?
I was like, okay. That's how I feel about. I mean, it was interesting to watch it for the first time simply because I have like lived in a post-Matrix world for most of my life and like seen so many like references and like, you know, like I kind of like got Matrix references and jokes from like, you know, red pill, like whatever discourse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but like really had no idea what happened in the actual movie or like how it all fit together. And like, I don't know, it just like, it didn't even like register with me really. I was just like, okay. Fan fiction about these jokes that I've seen for so long.
I still haven't seen it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm like, you know,
Maybe I'll watch it.
not recommending it and not recommending it. It's just out there. Was there like a piece of media where you were like, this is like, this changes everything? I don't know, like X-Files or something where you're like, oh yeah, maybe aliens are real.
A piece of media that changed everything. That's so hard.
The answer for me is no, so that's fine.
I want to think like at large. Like, is there anything, not like mass media, is there anything I've ever seen that I've been like, holy shit? There must have been. I do not remember what it is. Maybe like a 9/11 documentary I watched when I was probably 11 called Zeitgeist. That changed it for me. It starts with a George Carlin sketch.
Oh wow. Just to give you a sense of the times, or like,
Yeah. Maybe sense of the times. That I remember. Or maybe that documentary about the dolphins getting killed.
Oh,
I don't know if that changed me forever, but it did change me at the time.
it did change something.
Right. What else do we have to talk about? topic?
Yeah. What's on the list?
Thank you for letting me talk about my objection theory for so long.
Oh no, I think that's the best thing that happened here. Have I said anything interesting? Absolutely
Yes,
not.
you have. Your Snapchat stuff I'm very interested in.
Oh no.
Oh, I want to hear you talk about the Micah James Stauffer Huxley adoption stuff, because in this argument you said James acknowledged that peak moments could increase viewership. New homes play well, as do pregnancy and new babies.
Yes. I mean, I feel like it's, as like a YouTube influencer thing, it's probably something you know more about than me. But I just like read that it's like the Cut or something, right, article, and was like, whoa. Like I always knew that like family like vloggers kind of had something off, but like this is wild.
They're definitely all psychotic.
Exactly. And just like in terms of, God, I think I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about YouTubers, but I forget at what point or why or anything about that. But yeah, just like having a kid for content is like the craziest thing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Apologies to those kids.
I feel like it's so appalling, but it's also like totally makes sense.
You're like, of course.
Like the Duggars.
Yeah.
People have had children for money so many times.
Well, I mean, if we really want to go back and be like, faux whatever.
Who was the first family to have a kid for money?
Pretty much, I think any, like, I don't know, one of Henry VIII's wives,
Yeah, like any
right?
dynasty.
Anyone that like needed to produce an heir in order to like be valuable.
Oh God.
That was content.
I think a lot of YouTubers also get married for content too.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Well, I remember there was this whole thing, and I don't know, do you read any, like, the tech reporter Taylor Lawrence at all? So, she's a tech reporter for, I think, the New York Times, yeah, and, I don't know, I've been, like, pretty agnostic about her stuff. She's, like, really good at some stuff and, like, also, like, kind of a normie, so kind of bad at others. And there was one article that I thought she got really, really wrong that was about Instagram influencers who, this was all pre-pandemic, and this must have been a year or two ago, but it was like, they had this entire like elaborate like proposal thing that like was like, of course, like live streamed or posted or like whatever, and like the whole thing was a setup, and it's like, of course it was, like, sorry, like what? And I mean, and so there's kind of like this sense of betrayal among the influencers fans, right, about kind of being like emotionally manipulated into like being like, oh my God, this is amazing, which like also like, no offense to those people, there's like deeply parasocial people, but like, you know, like get something else to think about.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
Like
the parasocial stuff.
Like it's just, I like understand, and I'm also like, this cannot be like a central like plot point of your life, like what's happening in these other like fake internet people's lives. But anyway, they were super mad, and then like I think Taylor Lawrence was like getting all these email, like I don't know, just like receipts on how it was all a setup, which again, like why do you need receipts on that? Of course it was. But like I don't know, and so there's this like anger over, and then like conversation about like how private like engagements and things like that should be, and it's like, actually these two people who you keep complaining about broadcasting every moment of their lives did already have a very private engagement and then decided to set this up. So like, good on them for getting that money or whatever. And there was like a lot of endorsement deals and shit attached to it. But like, I don't know, just like this sort of like thing, ignoring the fact that like you don't see everything. And
Yeah.
like, you know,
And
you
that-
have no idea how they actually got engaged.
And this is a weird way to think about strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There was something I have been thinking about kind of is like I feel like privacy kind of used to be like a passive thing, you know, like you would have to call attention to yourself or publicize yourself, and then like that's how you gave up your privacy, and like now you have to like opt in so strongly to privacy.
To
And
fight for privacy.
what?
You have to fight for privacy.
Well, yeah, and like the freaking like you have to like fucking train like a golden eagle to take down a drone. You know, it's such a like a violent, like active thing. Not violent necessarily, but you know, it's just like
Increasingly violent.
yeah, increasingly violent too, because it's increasingly hard to like maintain privacy. And like, you know, there are just different things like built in that are harder and harder to avoid. Like I have AT&T and they are not supporting dumb phones after next year.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Which I'm not saying that, no, I think it does like actively like increase my sense of privacy at least, but also my actual privacy, like the amount of like data that is generated on me is lower and less accessible to like more like entities and corporations.
Yeah, I feel like it's very much so. Like the pictures you take aren't as, you know, coded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean I do have like my like workaround iPod Touch, which kind of like spoils all of that. But like it's still like, you know, not in my life the same way that like I think a smartphone is in other people's lives.
Yeah, it's not where all your texts live.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my texts. What? Oh, I was going to tell you about some poem, but I can't even really remember. No, I think it's an Adrienne Rich poem.
I have two big Adrienne Rich collections that my aunt got me because for all my birthdays she gets me Adrienne Rich books because she doesn't know me very well. But
She's like, you know what? This one, Adrienne Rich.
yeah, she's like, this is what I assume you like, and I'm like, you're not that wrong.
Mm-hmm. Adrienne Rich used to live in Montague, I'm pretty sure.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
A local.
But if you remember the poem, I can probably look it up.
It's, I forget the title. I remember almost nothing about this poem is where we should start. But it's like something about someone who has been like diagnosed with breast cancer in like middle age, like maybe in her 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, there's this like part, like maybe like 2 pages into the poem, it's like a pretty long poem, where like everyone goes swimming together and like it's like, you know, a bunch of lesbians, so they all like take their clothes off, and this like woman like takes off her shirt and then is like kind of like appalled at like her mastectomy scars.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, she like puts her shirt back on and is like, God, there's like some like little part where she's like, there are things I won't show everyone. And I'm like, it's fucked up that like when I read that and when I think about it, I do so like in the context of the internet, you know? But I like kind of want to build, I don't know, there's like, you know, there's like very like kind of the parts of your mind that are not the main parts of your mind that are like working on things sometimes that like, I think once this kind of like mythic like pre like internet like almost like medieval or something privacy like conclusion that's like all like, you know, trained falcons and like putting your shirt back on and stuff. I don't know.
What do you think, if you had to guess, what do you think the next kind of influencer will be? To put your money on something real weird.
I don't think I'm good at this because I've been predicting the return of blogs for like a long time and it hasn't happened yet.
Vlogs or blogs?
Blogs with a B.
Ah, yes.
You're like, no, that's not happening.
Maybe. Well, sort of. There's those. There's like the newsletter things.
Yeah. I don't. Newsletters is a whole different thing. I was actually just having this conversation, and then I think got too sidetracked and failed to come to a conclusion. But the next influencer, well, maybe it's what you're saying before, like the anti-influencer, like the people that don't want to be influencers, but like don't super have a choice.
Yeah. I think that will like necessarily come out of, you know, insurgency a little bit, just because that's how we're used to like listening to people.
Yeah.
Is following their every move as opposed to like, you know, like every once in a while they publish something and we all get a copy and read it.
Yeah.
Which I think is ideal, and I hope we see someone like that soon.
I would say that like, and it's not quite the same, but I think that's how I feel about Anne Boyer.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I don't know. She's not. I think she used to have a Twitter, doesn't anymore, but she does have her newsletter. And then like I got one the other day, and I was like, oh, here we are. Anne Boyer has something to say. I'm gonna pay attention.
All right, I stand corrected.
But I don't know.
I just want us to have like a Ho Chi Minh. That's really where I'm at.
How is you know, your reading interacting with current events right now? It's the real question.
Oh, you know, just great. I'm so worried about going to war with China.
Yeah, I feel like you know so much more about China right now than me, and I would like to know what you know. What do you think?
Well, I can send you. I've ranted about this so many times today. I'm trying to remember.
Okay, if you want to move on.
No, don't you worry. I just want to think of a good, succinct way to say that. I think that a lot of American leftists, we're still at this sort of point where people are not reading about past revolutions at all, and are not learning about revolutions that have happened in the global south, and kind of haven't come to terms with the fact that like the world cannot continue if the U.S. empire does not go away. And that like there is abject poverty all over the global south, even and especially in socialist countries, and a lot of it is our fault. Most of it is our fault. Some of it's Europe's fault, some of it's Australia's fault, some of it's Canada's fault. And that like China, you can have like, I don't know, Vijay Prashad. I saw Vijay Prashad talk online because we don't go to anything anymore, and he said something about how there's no room for nuance about socialist countries, and I think that that's something that people will like push back against because it kind of doesn't seem right when you say it. But it's true that like from the vantage point of like the American empire, like what do our opinions on socialist nations do? They either combat like the state departments and like, you know, like the base and superstructure's desire for war and coup and sanctions and in socialist countries, and like gaining access to resources, or we accept like the propaganda from the American Empire that we should hate those places. Like there's no in between for us, because we can't have nuance, because it's not like we can be like, oh, you know, like like the government is telling me that this place has this thing wrong with it, and for that reason it's bad, but also I think that it's bad, but we shouldn't sanction it. Like we can't do that, you know, as much as we'd like to. People in that country can think that way, because like their opinion being that actually has weight besides like throwing your weight behind either being in favor of aggression or not.
Yeah.
So like I personally think from my research that the Xinjiang concentration camp thing is BS. I think it's crap. I think it is thought up by, you know, NGOs and the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation and the Jamestown Foundation and the literal evangelicals who work for those places, blatantly fixing numbers, blatantly fixing translations because Americans won't double check Chinese translations. Like, I think it's crap. And I have not found anything about it that has not been crap. And it really bothers me that, like, American leftists who should, I don't want to say should know better, because I've definitely been in that position before and it has taken me a while to get here.
Yeah.
But, like, we've lived through the Iraq War. We know that the New York Times is extremely capable and willing to lie in ways that coincide with, like, State Department desires for war abroad.
Yeah.
So, like, I just want people to, like, I just wish the discourse around all of this, instead of being like, oh, you know, like, authoritarianism is always bad and tankies will support any authoritarian country, to, like, take a stop for a second and be like, okay, we live in the American Empire, which is the evil empire. Like, we know that. There was a tweet recently I saw that was like, most Americans are not able to stomach just how evil America is. And I feel like I can't stomach just how evil America is. And I feel like people who are, like, reading the New York Times and being like, yeah, all of this checks out, even though none of the sources either work or make any sense or written by anyone credible or even actually say the things that these things are saying.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I agree with it. It's like, it's so evil, and we see it happen over and over and over again in our lifetime, and it's the same people, and we know who runs these organizations, and we know that they lie to us. Like the New York Times that published, like, Michael Brown is no angel as the first sentence of his obituary. Like, you believe them about international relations?
Yeah.
You can say no. You can say no to the New York Times. I say we should say no to the New York Times. So I think as a group we should all say, more important than information we're getting from evangelical German sources who work for the Victims of Communism Foundation, which is literally counting coronavirus deaths in the count of people who have died because of communism, which is fucking crazy. We can know that we don't have to trust those people, and for that, and more important than that, is to not let America wage another war, particularly right now. Particularly in that stage, particularly with China.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, we're smarter than that. Like you think, like, I don't know. It just. And, you know, it's what bothers me is that it's like I feel like I do have a nuanced opinion of China. I don't but I also think I've never been there. And
do you think you've never been there, or have you never been there?
I know I've never been there. And, you know, like, we are not immune to propaganda. We live in the American Empire. Literally all of our information is filtered through agencies.
Manufactured consent.
which is very creepy and terrifying. But people need to kind of get that. It's hard to get that, though. It's hard to think about that on a daily basis. I don't know. Like, think about, like, the Alex Morse thing. Like, a small... Like, whether or not, like, it was actually bad, like, just think about how much planning goes into this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just go to a publication and tell them something.
Yeah.
You can just make shit up. They've made so much shit up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is media bad?
Is media bad? Is American media trustworthy?
Email us.
Do you believe when the New York Times tells you something about a foreign country?
God, the fucking New York Times.
Do you believe when the New York Times tells you about a foreign country and having concentration camps, instead of reporting on the literal situation in American prisons right now, in which corrections officers enter the prison, don't wear their masks, and infect people? Like, that's all. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I think the conclusion we came to this week was America bad.
America bad.
America bad. The New York Times, it's funny, like, how hard they need to be pushed towards certain wording, which, like, they're responsive to that, but, like, you know, which almost, like, makes it worse and dumber, is that they will, like, relent on their, like, dumb phrasing.
But after
Like,
it's, like, gone viral.
After it's gone viral and everyone's been like, what are you saying? Like, did I just see the words Antifa affiliate in, like, a subhead? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Sorry, I just keep being like, I feel like my brain is mush this week and I'm just like, what the fuck?
I read a translation of a blog by a, like, Chinese communist youth org that was about BLM and, like, their take on how America needs to find socialism. But from that article, something that kind of stood out to me, I really like the article, I'll send it to you, I think it's great.
Please
but something
do.
that really stood out to me is that, like, internationally, people think that Antifa is an organization.
Oh, interesting.
Like, that information coming out of the States, like people don't realize that it's not real because the government and even the Democrats just act like it's an organization.
The Democrats are the stupidest people in America. That's my take. And
They're
like,
so stupid.
They do think that. And you're like,
like, you don't talk to anyone.
What?
I think politicians in America probably love the coronavirus because they don't have to have any reason to have to talk to anybody because they can just mute mics. You know?
Yeah.
Like, with all of the, like, Zoom protests, like, how spooky it is that it's, like, a room full of however many people and you can't hear anybody. Whereas, like, IRL, people would be yelling the whole time.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. Maybe that's why coronavirus is getting extended far beyond.
That's why they gave coronavirus an extension.
Yeah.
What do you think of my onion?
I like it.
You like it?
It looks like it's objecting.
It does. I'm gonna leave that. That was a risky choice.
Risky choice, but paid off. I have added a little heart to Chanel to show her true nature. And
That's so cute.
I hope that it works. Here's the thing. She's just so cute.
Yeah.
Look at her. Sometimes I hold her little hand. And, you know, I love her.
So cute.
We've talked about making a TV show starring Chanel many times. A little web series of Chanel landing on Earth and finding, she kind of communicates through like bleepity bloops a little bit, like not like mechanical ones, like very musical ones, but like she doesn't speak English. but you know what she's saying anyway. This is part of this universe.
Oh.
Yeah, am I supposed to be displaying my painting? Oh,
Yeah.
I can't, here's the thing is I cannot tell whether these two things are,
No, it looks great.
thank
I
you.
think it looks great. I like that you gave her pink antennae, like purpley.
Yeah, I needed to get some color in there. was really all of the color came at the end when I was like, this can't stand.
No more.
But wow, another exhilarating week of painting. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you for watching. Okay, Peter. See you next time.
Great.
Tell us what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, submit questions.